I don't think you've changed a thing. Go on, jump.
No, I don't want to jump.
Yes, you do. You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you?
Fair East Side, by thy side will stand and always praise thy name. Praise thy name, praise thy name. To ever, yeah. Lend our hearts and hands to help increase thy fame. Ooh, Lord, the honor, yeah, of old Eastside High, cause forth our loyalty. Loyalty. So cheap.
All right.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to the Rocket City Network, part number 2 of the recap of Lean On Me. So I got Maynard and I got James, both Huntsville legends, Butler graduates. So James, what do you think about the movie, man?
Oh, shoot. I still remember that movie like it was yesterday, man. Like yesterday. It was one of my favorite movies. One of my
Maynard.
favorite movies.
Oh, yeah. Maynard, what'd you think about it?
That movie, along with my dad and just a calling, motivated me to go into education. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I said, what? This is the man right here. So it really put me on track to, follow that education dream.
Gotcha. So like, we all three of us, we went to the notorious Butler High School in the 90s.
Yeah.
When Butler was on top of the world. Looking back, right?
Yeah.
Was Butler like East Side High? James, you shook your head. So it wasn't like East Side High.
Nah.
But if you ask like the regular Huntsville citizen or somebody who went to, your Lee high schools or your Grissom's or your Huntsville, they would look down on Butler and say Butler was bad.
Shoot,
Yeah,
I put it this way. I'm a military brat. I went to when I got to Butler, I got to Butler in my high school year. This is the only last thing of Huntsville besides UAH that I got connection to this school. When I got here, I would have probably thought that Johnson was the one was bad because they was on academic probation when I got here. So, and Butler was just passing. So that was just like when they was just saying it was bad. I was like, okay, but we were passing like Johnson folks. But that's not just me. Mandar might quote me on that when like Johnson was on academic probation every time that little state test.
Hey, so before I go on to Maynard, we do have Johnson graduates who watched the episode. So, we don't want to start a Butler Johnson rivalry, but Johnson was on the lower end of the totem pole. Maynard. so
I guess I don't even want to have that conversation because there's no. I don't even want to have levels to lowness. Low is low. It doesn't matter. Like I feel like Butler grads, we always want to say, man, we were better than Johnson. We were all bad. It was all bad.
Hey,
Johnson and Butler were both both bad. They were both challenged. If anything, I told you, Johnson had a magnet program in it, and so they had a segment of their population that literally was on track for advanced stuff. And so it was still bad though. Like my impression of Johnson and Butler was pretty bad. And James, as well as Son, I'm thinking about the Butler before we got this. So like when we were in Ed White, like think about that thing on the news when they had that riot in the gym. Like they kept showing that video when they were like people just getting stomped, and I don't know because I was too, I was in high school yet, but I do remember a lot of times when my sister was there, there's always police. And so it'd be interesting to find out before us whether Butler was really off the chain.
Yeah.
course,
because
Johnson was already off the chain at that time, but Butler could have been equally. Or think about it; those are two rival schools, and
yeah,
it wasn't just Johnson doing their thing. You know,
yeah, because I heard stories of. I remember one person told me when he graduated from Butler in 1992, so he was there when they had different gangs. Like I think there were some gangs that came from different projects, and he was telling me that he remembers Butler being on CNN. I mean, I don't recall that, but he said it was bad when he was there. Um, so East Side High, right? That second scene of the movie where it fast forward 20 years later after Mr. Clark got ousted, he had to come back as a teacher, Maynard, and administrator. What would you do in that situation?
talking about Joe Clark.
Okay, so if you were Joe Clark, would you have done the same thing as far as you go to a school, all this the debauchery's happening. You know, you have students getting assaulted, teachers getting assaulted, graffiti everywhere. Is that like was that overwhelming? Would that be overwhelming to you?
Where I am in my career now, yes.
Mm,
And it wouldn't be overwhelming, but I would understand. And my homeboy said this. I would understand what it would take to turn it around. And then I have to ask myself, do I have the energy to do that again? This stage of my career, like I look at it at like sports or something.
yeah,
MJ, he still had the skill, but he wasn't doing the dirty work. He wasn't dunking. He supported other people. Scottie Pippen, he made the people around him, you know, um, raise their level up and help. And that was smart because he got more championships that way. When he was younger, he was trying to do everything on his own. You know, like dunking and taking his
yeah.
everything was on him. As he got older, he developed other people surrounding him. So at this stage in my career, no, there's no way I would do East Side High again, East Side High type school. No.
Let me show you guys a clip, right? And I want to get you guys' opinion after it finishes. Okay, it's an infamous scene from the movie Lean on Me. Here we go. This morning is an outrage. My boy is no criminal. He and those children belong in school, not back out on the street. Fascist father. Our kids don't deserve this. Some of those children are smart. They're just discouraged about what chances they got out there. What kind of jobs they got waiting for them. Now what kind of chance do they have? He insulted the black football coach. The man's gone crazy. He's declared war on his own people.
Remind you, Miss Barrett, that Mr. Clark was nice enough to come to this emergency meeting after a very trying day.
That's what he gets paid for.
I think we owe him a chance to respond.
Let me pause it right there. So I look at that as her being reactive, right? I'm pretty sure that probably was the first parent teacher association meeting that she came to because she stated that one of her kids was kicked out of school by Joe Clark earlier in that day. So, fellas, um, us being members of the black community, what do you say to people who are reactive and would blame Joe Clark for throwing out kids who weren't being productive? What do y'all say to that, James?
Well, I remember that scene and everything else. I mean, the movie right before the scene. And he wanted a list of every hooligans who was in the school and everything else that was getting in trouble, not causing like gang members and all that kind of stuff. So it was just eating off the system so he can just kick them out. You were already wasting. It was He was trying to get all the ones who wants to be there to learn to stay, and who's not going to be there. He just want to kick them out. Got rid of him. So she was kind of reacting there because she was saying her son was that way, but you didn't check your son and everything else, because if you go finish the scene and everything else, he told him what you're gonna do, get some pride in yourself and try to get some pride, get off of welfare and everything else and go about your business. So give me motivate the kid. But hey, I remember that scene like yesterday and all that. If you go later on, my favorite scene is the one he made at whatchamacallit, smoking crack kid cry and everything else.
Yeah. And that was a following scene too. So Maynard, what do you say to a parent that has that much outrage and frustration?
I was asked that question. Why?
Yeah.
Like, I think we got to ask more questions um, than reacting to a situation. So um, there always has to be a why behind it. So Joe Clark, he was in the wrong legally with that situation. Like, there's no way you could just throw kids at the school like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
These people are incorrigible. And since none of them could graduate anyway, you are all expurgated. You are dismissed. You are out of here forever. I wish you well. Mr. Wright.
you look back at it, you're like, whoa, that's not a thing. You can't do that. You can just throw kids out of the school. There has to be something called due process. So
Yeah.
they were right. She was right
Mhm.
to be angry like that. I mean, if there had to be advance notice of, hey, your child, these are the reasons, like we have a meeting before it even happens. Like, there's no way the parent find out afterwards that the child's been kicked out, So
Yeah.
that was wrong. Legally, educational wise, educational law, he could have got in a whole lot of trouble. And so he
Yeah.
never should have even gone to that emergency.
and you know what? And now that you say that was legal, I mean, I thought he was within grounds, but I don't know school protocol.
Yeah.
It seemed like he knew that he only had a year to turn around those test results. So the best way to get all the people who just gonna, mark their name on the test and turn it in was to get rid of the people who weren't being productive. And so he got rid of 300 kids off rip. And like
How
I
many
said,
how many teachers did he get rid of?
did he get rid
One.
of it? Yeah, the choir teacher. So you're saying he should have got rid of more teachers?
I'm just saying it's ironic how he got rid of so many students and only got rid of one teacher.
Damn.
Think
Wow.
about the culture of that school.
Yeah.
Me. Think about what was happening. Teachers getting. Remember that scene? Teachers getting his head.
Yeah. And like,
So,
go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just saying, like, think about what the culture would be at that school with the other teachers. I mean, you're living in fear. You're going to school scared. You just saw a coworker's head get, and you put out all those kids. But I'm not saying that shouldn't have happened. But of course, there's a process to that, there's procedures, and he could have got them out quick. Don't get me wrong. He could still got them out quick. But you trying to tell me none of those teachers there?
They made it like the teachers were just like docile and they were trying their best and doing what they can do, and they were nice. But I mean, well, for one, I think that he probably was grateful that there was teachers that still wanted to work there in those conditions. I mean, I understand they have teachers unions and they couldn't just up and just leave when they wanted to. So he knew what he was working with and he was trying his best. I think a lot of teachers thought that they were doing good because remember that first meeting, that little meeting he had with with all the staff members, they thought they were doing good. And basically he said, "Hey, I wouldn't be here if you guys were doing good." And that's when he started promoting the Pastor Williams to being a head janitor. He demoted the football coach and promoted the assistant coach. So I think that first scene of him just throwing out everybody, he even threw out a guy who said he was going to the Air Force. And so I'm like, you ain't going to the Air Force now. So Maynard, what did he mess up? Because you were shaking your head.
There's different types of leadership styles. That's not the one now. It's funny how back then I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, I don't want that leadership. I want to have that leadership style because that is a style of leadership, but
Yeah.
it's one to me that would, and you can see when you go back and revisit the movie, you see how he created a lot of division instead of collaboration. And so, you know, between him and his assistant principal, you know, I kept bumping head, like, you know, the coach, he demoted. Like, there's so many people that he kind of burned bridges with in the beginning where could have been building better relationships. The same thing with now some people hey, you just have to move them out the way, but I think he initially came in there, you know, strong-handed, boom, boom, boom. And I get it. He had to turn around the school, but again, we got to stop saying we have to stop reacting to things and then realize like at the end of the day it's our choice and it's our fault. So he had a choice to take that position. I mean, he might have felt pressured, but there's something in him that said, hey, I can do this. It's a challenge. So it's on him. Like he has to set all the responsibilities that come with that, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not realistic. How long did he had a year to do it?
Yeah, he had a year. Yeah, they gave him a year. 1 year.
That's not realistic. So I get it why he came in there, strong.
Yeah, guns a blazing.
Yeah, but that's not a thing. You turn around a school like that in a year.
Yeah, it looked like it was Old Testament. It was old school. Like I said earlier, you can't solve extreme problems with moderate solutions. So he came in there, you know, chaining up doors and firing the football coach. You know, I took the demotion. I was doing my job. You know, he had him all all emotional. Yeah, so I guess he just felt like he had to come in there and raise hell. You
I want to
know,
go back to the scene where with the teachers. Do you have that scene pulled up? Because that's interesting.
which part is that? The
remember when he has them in the gym? You remember that, James?
okay,
He has the
okay,
teachers in
yeah,
the gym. Raise them up! Get them up!
yeah.
I actually want that scene because I want to see that. Like, did he ever share his vision with the assistant principal, with the teachers, like, or did he just come and just, you know, just
No. He didn't even know
reprimand
who
them? Huh?
he didn't even know who the assistant principals were. It was two of them. It was a black lady and a white guy. Remember?
So there it is. I always just remember the black lady. I'm trying to think of the white guy.
I
Yeah, he
remember the
was.
white guy. He was kind of a little bit more passive. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was. So I'm gonna play the scene that Maynard is talking about, and let me know what you think about this, James. And of course, Maynard, I need your opinion as well. So here we go.
Because we can't afford overtime.
Mr. Clark,
Yes, Mrs. Santos.
the problem isn't our pay.
What is the problem as you see it, Mrs. Santos?
How to get the students in on Saturday, sir.
You hear that, people? Mrs. Santos says, how do we get the students in on Saturdays for remedial reading? Well, I'll tell you how. We'll go to their homes. We will talk to their folks. If their folks can't read, they can come in too. The only way we're going to get anything done is to get everyone involved. And that goes for all of you. It's time to get involved. Everyone in this section. Put both your hands above your heads. Raise your hands. Put them out.
There's a lot of teachers, man.
That's a lot.
You people represent the 70% of our students who just failed the practice exam. 70%. But that is not their failure. I don't blame them. The failure is yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, yours.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours do you spend preparing your lesson plans?
Mm-hmm.
How often do you stay after school to give those children, the ones you know needed, the extra help that they require? Keep your hands up. Now you are getting a hint of the kind of hopelessness and shame that makes those failing students throw up their hands at the thought of facing a world for which you have not prepared them. You are getting the merest inkling of the despair they feel when left to the mercy of the streets. Keep your hands up high.
Like she in church.
Yeah.
Now look around at yourselves.
That's so messed up.
Turn and look at yourselves.
Oh,
Because you are failing to educate them.
oh,
This is the posture that many of our students will wind up in.
oh,
Carrying down the barrel of a gun.
oh. Dang. I forgot that part. Who are the people behind him? I know there's assistant principal, the black lady. Who are all those other people?
That was the other 30% that represented the folks who actually passed the practice exam.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
they
yeah,
were
so
still teachers.
yeah, they was teachers. They was Bojangling buck dancing teachers. So yeah, man, James, what like how do you process that? Like, imagine you were one of those teachers. Would you endure that kind of abuse, verbal abuse? Because that's what it was. I mean, it's funny to us, but that's what it was. What do you think, James?
Yeah.
Well, that verbal, that I do have to agree on Mandark on some. I mean, Mandark on some of the things, but it was verbal abuse. But I think he was going in there like a blazer girl, like extreme. If he had 1 year, if it's kind of like he had 1 year to fix at least get like somewhat passable, like drop the numbers down like 50% or something. Like it was gonna be a realistic number just to have a passing grade. I think he was going to the extreme manner. He wasn't going to solve it on progressive being nice. So he had 1 year. It was kind of like he got one job to do, and it's to turn it around. If not, the state would take over. And some of these teachers, he was trying to say like, hey, you ain't gonna like this now, but when the state comes over, it's gonna be way worse. You're gonna be losing your job anyway.
Yeah, and like, so that brings me back to my point of him getting rid of those 300 miscreants. Miscreants? We're African Americans. Oh, my bad. Wrong movie. So if he had those 300 students take that test as well, I mean, I know half of them probably wouldn't come to school, but that would actually drive down that percentage.
Yeah.
So he'd be looking at like 20% passing.
Yeah.
So that's why I agree that he should have threw out that kid that said he was going to the Air Force, because he wasn't going to the Air Force. He ended up coming to the school and selling drugs and trying to beat up Kid Ray. And then
Who dropped out.
Who
dropped out.
Well, yeah, Kid Ray dropped out, but the dude who put them hands on him, I think Clark, he put them hands back on him. So so Maynard.
Yeah.
Do you agree with his method of
I see
calling
what
the
James
teachers out like that?
I see what James is saying, because I mean that's what he was sitting there to do. I just feel that there's another way to do that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what's the vision? What's the expectation? And I mean, he's talking, but I'm not going to say that, because he does break it down instructionally what they need to do. I think at the end of the day, though, it's more of like his delivery, and I don't feel that he had to come off that way, because again, all of that was not the teacher's fault. That was not the teacher.
Yeah.
Like you do have to have that time to observe and figure out who is who and who was, because that's what I'm saying. He was looking at everybody as the enemy. Like, you're here, you're the reason why the school is where it is.
Yeah.
So I'm pointing my finger. So he never had time to actually differentiate who was doing something. He put everybody in one box.
Yeah, he did.
And that's not a thing, because again, that can mess up the morale. Like, if I'm a teacher that's doing all those things and you tell me to put my hands up, like, that's not gonna happen. You're dealing with tier 3 behavior, kids bringing eyes, like you saw that. I can understand James saying, yeah, take those kids out, get them out of there. Yeah, there's a process to do it, but he could have got them out real quick. and then focusing on the other kids and educating them, but not tearing down the teachers to the point where they got. I mean, if they were that good, I mean, for him to keep them, I mean, I guess he had to because if he fired them, that would have taken more time to hire new teachers.
Yeah.
So my point is, I know there were some teachers there that were doing those things, and so the way he came at them, that was just wrong. Putting everybody in one box, that was wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
He could have
you
done
know,
it a different way.
I'm pretty sure um, the teachers, you can't just say, oh, the teachers didn't care about the kids or whatnot. They were just passing or failing them, at when they felt like it.
Right.
I believe that they actually cared, but the discipline, the I mean, could you imagine how it was in those classrooms? We saw like the hallways, we saw the graffiti, we saw the buffoonery that these kids were engaging in, just walking through the halls. Like it was just so many kids in those hallways. Like it would just be hard just to compartmentalize what was going on. And so I could only imagine how it was in those classes. The only classes that probably would you could actually teach in were probably like the P courses if they had courses, because at least those kids want to be there. But could you imagine Butler High School being East Side High, right? When you guys are at Butler and you're taking ninth grade English, it'd be all kind of buffoonery. For one, you would have 11th graders in there. Well, they wouldn't be 11th graders. They would, they on paper they're
I
still
seen that one.
freshmen. Yeah,
I seen
but I
that
mean,
when I got the. I seen that when I got the Butler.
so what happened at Butler, man? We gonna break it down. We gonna chop up this fade.
I
What
seen there
happened,
was
man?
man, there was some guy. It was just only very few guys in there. It was probably like one. It was before they went to block scheduling. Mando was the last one that did the full seven. I was a before they
Yeah,
went to block. There was like there was a guy there. You can still take your regular English class, but if you fail that one semester, you got to take that half a semester class. And there was a guy that was like a senior in that class with me, and he I don't know how he failed 10th grade English, but I do, and he was a senior. But he said, yeah, I did all the English, but I just said, like, bro, you should just went to summer school, get
yeah,
it over with. But I can understand your parents weren't gonna pay for it, so you went, it was free and everything else. But it wasn't being buffoonery and all that kind of stuff. He just did his course, his work, and then went about his business.
yeah.
But
And then just like the scene at the cafeteria, right? It was just chaos. He even called out one student. He said, "You didn't already had lunch already. What you doing in here?" Like there was no kind of discipline of people saying, "Hey, your first block lunch. What are you doing in third block?" So you had kids just roaming the hallways. They probably were in classes that they weren't supposed to be in. They probably were in their friend's class, cutting up in the back room. So for a teacher, that's pretty hard, right? And you can't touch the kids, you know, because I'm pretty sure them kids slapped a couple teachers. You saw them ripping off a girl's bra, and then the teacher tried to come and hurt her. I mean, not hold her basically. And you had one shine who was saying, looking her up and down, trying to like get with the principal, and she was like, "Get off of me!" I mean, that like I couldn't imagine my wife being in a school like that, teaching like that. I could imagine my father, teaching in a school like that.
well, I mean, it does. I mean, East Side High kind of. I mean, it's basically remind me of my. I do have relatives that went to school like that in this, school like that up north. So, and got metal detectors in there, and and you probably would be the AP courses is the ones the kids going to actually be there, but gotta come now. It's like invisible backpacks and all that kind of stuff. They're going to sneak knives in there.
So fellas, final thoughts. Um, Mr. Maynard, what's your final thought on the movie?
I think you keep saying what type of teaching was happening. You can't teach in that type of environment for real. Sometimes I try to compare it to some place that I've been or things that my dad said when he was going through a school that was changing and turning more violent. Um, The first thing is happening where there's going to be a high teacher turnover rate.
Mhm.
So you're going to have more teachers like leaving, and of course you're going to need to fill those. And so people are not going to want to transfer there. There are no incentives, or there's nothing, um, no perks for them going there for the most part. No one's just going to volunteer to transfer there and teach. So you're going to have new teachers, younger teachers, oftentimes new teachers coming in, and they're not going to be able to cut it as well. So it's going to be a domino, that cycle of teachers leaving, and all that means is there's no teaching happening. And the first thing you have to handle is the behavior. So I do like how he came in there and addressed the behavior, because that'd be crazy for him to turn around and try to help with instruction when you got kids bringing guns and knives. So that's the beauty of that movie. It
Mhm.
got certain things correct. Now, the way those things got corrected or happened might not be legally, accurate or unethical, but the structure was right. Like, he had a system. There's certain things I took from that movie. And I was like, "Ooh, I would apply that to myself if I was an admin." Kind of like how he had a security with him. He had a plan. They figured out which students were in the gangs and causing the trouble. So it wasn't like he just kicked out all the kids. He had them up on the stage, and he had already done his research of who was just here just to cause trouble, and you're dismissed. I love that. That was really dope. Like, as a turnaround, he would be considered a turnaround principal, and that's the first thing you have to do. After that, let's address the academics, teachers. What are you doing? So I think there's that accountability piece, but what bit him behind was just how he came at each teacher, or came at each situation. So I think that he alienated more people than he needed to. And I don't know, like, think about your kids, and if they went to an elementary school like that or middle school like that. I mean, Sean, this is your question right here. Like,
Hey man,
what?
hey, look,
You went home, then you get a videotape.
that's why I live where I live, man.
Oh,
Hey James, final
that's
thought.
another story too.
We're gonna talk about it. James, final thoughts.
Good. I'll give it a good movie and everything else, but Mandar is the man, not Mr. James. He's more the educational one and everything else. And I mean, he broke it in like in his perspective and everything else. And R.I.P. to Joe Clark. He died last year on December 20th. And I gotta say that Morgan Freeman did a good job playing him and everything else, even though he just freshly got off of Glory, one of good movies. And it was something he had to do, something really extreme measures and everything else. And I have to say that he stepped on some toes and all that kind of stuff, but he had to do what he had to do. And he was thinking about safety. And that one girl that he had was at the school was an elementary. I
Hmm.
forgot, was an elementary principal and everything else. And he was looking at when he said, "Mr. Clark don't." She already told him Mr. Clark don't play. So
Yeah,
she actually warned him.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Now, real quick,
So
I want to add
yeah,
on to what James said, because I agree in a way. Like, it kind of had like that Tyler Perry vibe perspective, where it's like, I'm embracing my culture, who I am. This is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I'm bringing to the table. I'm gonna do it my way, and here these are going to be the results. So I think sometimes we can, especially the culture that the atmosphere that we live in, because we're the minority, we can oftentimes allow people that are not a part of our culture to tell us how to do something,
mhm,
and we have everything we need right within our own culture,
mhm,
and there's those parameters in place. So that's the only thing I would use is the legal process to cover myself. But as African Americans, a lot of times we have to fill in those gaps with um, strategies or techniques or things that we know are going to impact our kids the way we know they need to be impacted. Like,
definitely.
I'm not saying that he should have held that boy over, jump, jump, But think about a lot of the things he did. They were unorthodox. Some of them are illegal, uh, school, but he brought in who he was and his experiences, and either you loved or hated him, and he didn't change until. And I take that back. He did. He was able to see later from other individuals' perspectives, and I liked how he changed towards the end. So I agree with James. You know, like it. I guess my thing is, like I said, I don't want to be that type of admin or principal, but I could take so much from him, yeah, and apply it. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, you know me, y'all. Crazy Joe, that's my guy. That's my guy. So there you have it, folks. The Rocket City Network. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we out. Yeah.
Yeah.